Balancing logos can be quite tricky. A lot of the time we use maths. Take the Google logo for example. If I draw a circle around this to just mark out where it could be, if I just do this, try and make it absolutely perfect, oh, it doesn't work. We've got this huge part here to the right where it doesn't look like an actual circle. It's kind of elongated. A lot of the time us designers will take this thick circle, and to work out the middle part here and how thick it should be away from the circle, a lot of the time we'll just copy it and we'll divide this by a certain number. Let's do 1.618. But then even here, if I just get this exactly down like so, you can notice it doesn't fit quite right. But if I get rid of this, it looks like a circle. So what is going on? Well, this is optical balance at its finest. Years ago, I made a video talking about this and why logo designs are balanced in this way. The way that our brains see logos and shapes isn't always mathematical. In the case of this Google logo, the reason why it's not a proper circle all the way around is because we've got this part of the G, the kind of crossbar. Because we've got a bit missing here and we've got this part going in, it actually needs to be more narrow because it looks like this part of the G comes further out. So to balance that, we have to create a bit of a change. Now let's take a logo that I've designed. This is the Appian logo. How do we know where it should be and how big it is against the text? Well, simply take your text or take something that has a shape in it. I'm going to take this P here and the rest of the text. I'm just going to draw a square around it, exactly all the way around it, just covering it. You'll notice even here on the A that it's not fitting exactly. That's another case of optical balance. Then what I'm going to do is just duplicate this rectangle once by holding Option, then press Command D and it will repeat the options for me. Now we've created what's known as a baseline grid here. Now, to make it better and to make it easier for us to grid, we need to divide these grids in half. So what I do is I just drag again, copy all the way down to half, and then I just copy it down like so. This grid is using the type size as a reference for where everything else should go. So here, I am going to move my logo to be like so it kind of fits. I'll get rid of the guides and boom, it looks a lot better than it did before. Slight change, but it looks very balanced. It just fits perfectly. The same is for Iron Oak Outdoors, another logo that we designed. Let's use the big text here. Now, how small do we have this text down here? Well, what we can do is work that out by just creating another grid like we did last time. Just duplicate that up, create another one down here, do it again. And then we can half it if we wanted to create the baseline. Now we've halved it, we've created a baseline. So to get this to be half of the size, I'm just going to shimmy this down ever so slightly, making sure that it's in line. And boom, there we go, the text is in line. But what about the actual icon itself? What do we do here? Well, you'll notice that it doesn't fit within this grid. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to force this to be within the grid here using the same optical balancing that we did last time. So just forcing it into the grid and boom, we now have, if I get rid of the guides, a logo that looks a lot better. It's spaced out a lot nicer. The key message of any sort of balancing is do not just pull numbers out of thin air. Don't just pull sizing out of thin air. It's got to be part of the design. Use parts of the design as a reference to determine the size of other things. The same is for this logo that I worked on in a video that I'll link down below. Let's take the smallest lettering at the top here. Let's just take this guy, making sure that it is actually on the same level. Increase it so it becomes like that. And simply, we're going to copy it all the way down to create a grid. It should look something like this. And you'll notice that things aren't really placed correctly. So what I'm going to do is make sure that my text here fits within this grid. Make sure this comes up. Make sure the natural flavorings is actually on the grid itself, just like you would when you're writing. Made in the USA can come up slightly. You can see it's not there correctly. And 1820s is certainly not on the grid, so we're just going to move that down a little bit, move that down. And what ends up happening is you get a logo design like this, where all the lettering is spaced correctly. That is an extreme example, but it works. One more example, Lion Specialty. Let's just move this across over like so. I've created a grid around it, and you can see here that I've based it on the specialty and I've halved it. You can see a few things of inconsistencies here. Let's just move Lion down a little bit. Let's move the Lion down onto the grid itself. Let's make sure that we overshoot because it's round up at the top here. And there you go. You have a logo that isn't just pulled out of thin air where it should go. Every spacing has a reason. But what if I was to say gridding doesn't always work and you have to actually use your eyes, just like in the Google logo? Well, here's the YouTube logo. I'm going to create a square around it. I'm going to bring a triangle up here so we can see it, bring it to its right. Well, the middle of this square isn't where the triangle is. Let's try and grid this. Let's put a dot exactly where the middle of this YouTube logo should be. Boom, right there. Now let's put the triangle right in the middle. It doesn't work. In fact, this is what it would actually look like if it was in the middle. That is scientifically in the middle, mathematically in the middle of here. However, we've got to use our eyes, and this is all about optical balance, not mathematical. All we need to do is shimmy it to the right slightly, and the reason why we do that is because on the left, there's a lot of matter in there. There's a lot of mass, and we use mass in design. It's not about kind of the shape, it's how much is filled in there. However, on the right, because it comes to a point, there isn't enough mass on the top and the bottom, so we have to compensate for that. Luckily, you don't really need to know you need to compensate for it through maths. You can see it because it doesn't look very good in comparison to the actual YouTube logo here on the right. However, if we were to flip this and make the actual part inside, like so, it would go directly into the center because there's enough mass in there on both sides that are reflected. So that's how you actually balance a logo when you're designing it. It seems so complicated, but it really isn't. It really is just taking a key part of the logo that's already there, like the typography or a certain shape, creating a grid around it and setting other elements of the design in the grid because it makes it feel consistent all the way throughout. However, there are times, just like you've seen with the YouTube logo and the Google logo, and even my qualified tutor logo that I did a few years ago, where balancing doesn't actually work mathematically. If you enjoyed this video and you got something out of it, leave a comment down below and also press subscribe. I've recently started making courses, and if you'd like to take your logo design journey to the next level and learn the art of bespoke logo type design, where you can create and hand draw and create your own custom logos and branded typography, then click the link for Design Academy. There's a free link for you to go and check out a few of the courses on there. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one. See you soon.